This is the Rolex Explorer 16570. Some people say it is the weirdest, let me get that. Some people say it's the weirdest Rolex that Rolex ever made. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think it is the Sky Dweller or the Yachtmaster 2. Either way, this watch was designed for spelunkers, speleologists, cave dwellers, Arctic explorers, and the like. The question is, why and how? Also, hello. In order to understand this, today we'll be dissecting why Rolex just flat out dominates absolutely everybody. In 2023, their watch sales surpassed their top 5 competitors combined, and Morgan Stanley has called this unprecedented dominance. Michael says, that's crazy. You guys must be so rich. Also, while shooting this video, I burned the watch. Can you see that? At 6, that little red right there? FML. That sucked. The founder of Rolex, Hans Wilsdorf, said he came up with the name Rolex when a genie whispered it into his ear while he was on a horse-drawn bus in London. Funny enough, that's exactly how I came up with the name the Iron Snail. If your job makes it very hard for you to discern whether it is nighttime or daytime, and that is very dangerous, this is the Rolex for you. This is the one you want. Also, this video may seem totally out of left field if you haven't been following every move of my career. I've actually worked in the wristwatch world for 12 years before the Iron Snail. I photographed watches for a guy on Reddit, Subdieter. Then I sold watches myself on Reddit. I edited for a YouTube channel called Theo and Harris for quite a few years. Then I ended up working for Theo and Harris. Then Christian and I started to make films for watch brands and met a bunch of watch brands, and I've been in the sticks for a while. I did not buy this watch. The brand Chrono24, a big watch reseller, reached out to me and said, hey, if you want to buy a watch, we'll refund it if you shout out our certification program. And I said, your certification program? And they said, oh, let us explain. There's a lot of fake fraudulent watches out there. So now if you're going on Chrono24 and looking for a watch, you can click the certification filter and only see watches that are either partner certified or certified by Chrono24. Partner certification is when the watch is certified by a verified partner and is done before the watch is listed. And Chrono24 certification is when the watch is certified by the Chrono24 team and is done after the watch is sold. And I said, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because there is a lot of fakes out there, and whether you're buying your first Rolex or your 80th Rolex, you want it to be real. That being said, the budget for this video is very weird. So this video is also sponsored by RocketMoney, but in order to make it up for you, I've removed all the YouTube mid-rolls. So you'll see me again, you'll see Ad Michael, but that should be it. For this whole video, the most important thing that we need to understand is that Rolex is a marketing madman, a marketing machine, and they have been since their inception. Marketing is their biggest thing. Wristwatches were getting into fashion. Before that, obviously, it was pocket watches, but around World War I, when soldiers were taking their pocket watches and strapping them on the wrist so they could see better as they are shooting people in trenches. Rolex did not make the first wristwatch, but Hans Wilsdorf was like, I want to make the first durable and accurate wristwatch. And a lot of other brands thought that too, of course, but he really hit the nail on the head with marketing immediately. The first thing that Rolex did was get their watches to be chronometer certified in 1910. What does it mean to be COSC certified? Basically, they were certified to be accurate by an independent company that wasn't Rolex. They were certified to be accurate in a bunch of different positions, all within -4 to +6 seconds a day variants of your watch. So they made sure that your watch was accurate. And then shortly after the chronometer certification, Rolex went full hog on making their watches waterproof. And this is where the marketing comes in really effective and really one of the coolest stories for Rolex. But they were not the first ever brand to make a water-resistant, they say waterproof at the time, but water-resistant wristwatch. There were technologies out there, but Rolex was the big king in mass producing it and popularizing it. And instead of just dropping their watch in a cup or something and being like, look, it's really water-resistant, this is really just where Rolex started to dominate marketing, and one of their most famous marketing stories of all time. It involves a swimmer named Mercedes Gleitze and the Vindication swim. Mercedes Gleitze was the first ever British woman to swim across the English Channel, and she was also a typist. It was the 1920s, so I'm assuming she just finished typing and was like, I'm gonna try and do that today, and then she did. But there was some controversy around her doing it. This is the funniest 1920s story that I've ever heard. The main reason people didn't believe Mercedes Gleitze about her incredible accomplishment was because a woman named Mona McLennan came out of nowhere and was like, I actually did that. I swam the English Channel too, way faster than Mercedes. And the press was like, what? Are you kidding me? Do you have any proof? And she was like, nope, I have no proof. No one was there. I have no photos, no records, nothing. I just did it faster. And the media was like, Mercedes, are you hearing that? And she was like, yeah, that's pretty airtight. Long story short though, this swim, the Vindication swim, was a BFD. It was a big deal all of a sudden because this woman, Mercedes, is trying to prove that she in fact is the greatest swimmer and did do that incredible feat, but the weather is way worse and it's colder. So she lubes herself up in lard and just dives back in the water. But before she does, Hans Wilsdorf runs over to her with a necklace and places a Rolex oyster around her neck right before she swims. And Mercedes actually did not complete the swim. It was too cold. She was fading in and out of consciousness. But in the most 1920s fashion of all time, they were like, wow, you are so impressive that there's no way Mona's telling the truth. Also, upon further thought, she really provided no evidence. And then Mercedes pops out, flexes her Rolex to the world. Boom, Rolex is an icon. All right, Michael, just say your name and who you are.
Hi, my name is Michael Christie, and I'm a small business owner. This video is sponsored by RocketMoney. Being a small business owner, it's very hard, and it's not for everyone. The Iron Snail is kind of this, you know, heady, ethereal,
Sorry, Michael. We want to focus on RocketMoney. How has RocketMoney helped you chase that? Okay.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I got that. Tracking. RocketMoney helped me with my subscriptions because I had a few that I didn't even know still existed, so I canceled those. And then they renegotiated other subscriptions that I didn't know how much I was paying for them. I was like, whoa,
good,
you know.
Okay, good. This is good.
Me,
what
that
else?
was really
Let's keep this train going.
Okay, well, I just want to talk about the Iron Snail a little bit. So we're this really like heady, ethereal company that's kind of...
Michael, focus on RocketMoney features. You know, do you budget?
Yeah, we budget. We budget in this kind of really ethereal, heady way where we forecast our revenue per video based off geographical location.
Michael, is that true? Michael, is that true? If it's not true, you have to redo the take, Michael. No one here is going to be mad. You have to tell the truth for this ad. You can read what you wrote down if that makes things easier. Just read what you wrote. Read it right now.
RocketMoney makes it easier than ever to set budgets so I don't overspend on videos by accident, which I have a habit of doing since I can't afford.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Go to rocketmoney.com/ironsnail or click the link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium.
The way Rolex marketed their watch with Mercedes kind of became the new way of doing things for Rolex. They were trying to represent the pinnacle athlete, the pinnacle of human achievement, the most accurate wristwatches. They were ahead of everybody. That was their thing. So the perfect storm kind of happened where people are thinking, okay, I'm gonna get a wristwatch. I don't want my pocket watch. I want something that's accurate and durable. I know that one brand that's really easy to say had their watch certified to be accurate. And then I saw that thing where that woman swam with it in the water, so it's really durable. I'll get that one. And that core, that first marketing push, basically, Rolex just went off forever. They just had to keep up the achievements. 45 years after all of that, and 11 years after Hans Wilsdorf passed away, we have the introduction of the Rolex Explorer 2. But in the meantime, two very important things happened in watch world history and also Rolex history. First thing is, this is a prime example of what I was saying, Rolex popularized something, they didn't invent it. Rolex actually got in trouble for kind of implying that they did invent this, and John Harwood, he actually invented it. It was essentially Rolex, in order to make a really, truly water-resistant watch, has to reduce as much user error as possible. And the biggest area that a user can mess up in is when they have to unscrew the crown of their watch to wind it, they have to remember to screw it back in, so that way it's locked and water can't come in. But obviously people aren't perfect and they forget, so then water goes in their watch and breaks it. The solution to this is a watch that is powered by the movement of your wrist. So when I am moving my wrist, a weight is spinning around inside the watch, tightening a spring, keeping the watch ticking. The original version of this was called a bumper movement, so the weight inside didn't spin all the way 360 degrees around. It bumped on two springs back and forth. The Rolex brand said, hey, what if we fix that? What if it didn't bump and it was smooth, and we called our watches Rolex Oyster Perpetuals? Another great name. Got to give it to him for that. So it took off and people loved it. And Rolex was like, we invented that. And John Harwood was like, what the heck is going on here? The other thing Rolex did during that time that was very nice is they had the first automatic changing date. So it used to either there was a bezel on the outside, or you had to put a pin on the side of the watch to click the date forward, or you had to move the crown. Now, with the automatic movement and the power from it and everything like that, click, this would just click at midnight very satisfyingly. Here's what it sounds like. See? Essentially, Rolex was doing every single possible thing that they could do to remain at the tippity top. And to be honest, you know, it's not in their opinion, I guess, in other people's opinions. And they have, by market share, remained at the top forever. And they did that by constantly trying to keep their watches as the number one. What can we innovate and what can we change? And at the same time, who can we partner with that's doing something great? How can we get to the pinnacle of achievements? How can we get a watch on people's wrists that are doing that? And to be honest, they did literally every single great human achievement since Rolex came out. They've been there. except the moon. Didn't get to the moon, did you, Rolex? That goes to Omega. Rolex's CEO sits down at another board meeting and is like, full moon today. Guess Omega's stock is going up. The biggest problem that Rolex had to address was that if you're in a cave or if you're in the Arctic or somewhere where the sun doesn't set, it's hard to know if it is daytime or nighttime just by looking at your watch, and you can forget, and that's dangerous and not the best. Holly, for this example, I would like to turn into a clock. So if you could do whatever you need to do to aid in that design, please do. Here we go. Just making sure no one is coming. I don't want them to see my clock. As you know, clocks go like this throughout the day, and the time changes. No, I'm actually filming myself, funny enough.
I thought you were either that or talking to yourself. So.
You're like, it's either crazy. Exactly, exactly. Ollie, we're back. Initiate clock sequence. As you know, clocks, minute hand goes fast, hour hand goes slow, but it goes around twice. Rolex added this red 24-hour hand, and of course, the bezel is a 24-hour dial. Even though right now it's 1:34, that could be AM or PM. This is showing me that it's PM with 24-hour time on the bottom right there. Then Rolex updated their movement, so the 24-hour hand and the 12-hour hand weren't linked together, so you could change the time independently, meaning, 1 minute, if I'm traveling, for example, and I'm going from California to the East Coast, I can click the hour hand of my watch 3 hours forward, and the 24-hour time doesn't change, so that's my time at home, and that is my time on my travels. That is, of course, very convenient if you're walking in a cave so big that you are crossing time zones, and you're like, it's California, I better change my watch. While we make our way back though, I would love to go over the changes that were made from the original 1655 to models after that. First thing obviously is we don't have the big fat orange hand anymore. I've read a bunch of reasons why this change happened. Some of the changes was because it fit in with the rest of Rolex's line a little bit better. They wanted to differentiate the movement and the big changes that came with the watch. I think it's just a style update, and it makes the watch a little bit more easily digestible for the mass market, so they don't have this big fat orange hand. The other thing they did was cover their dial in lacquer, so it's very shiny and not matte anymore. This was done for a few reasons. One of them just being it does make the watch look better and fancier and cooler and all that stuff. But the other is this lacquer coating is supposed to make the dial more durable, look more brilliant over time, be more resistant to sun damage. So yeah, put all that together, durability, huge plus, although apparently no match for me when I was trying to film B-roll of this. You wanna know what happened? Usually when I'm filming watches, I have a light that I put around the watch, like this, but on a much bigger scale. Can you imagine if I burnt it again? I do this with a watch so that way I can show off the lume and show off how this glows green. I must have caught the wrong angle and held the watch there for too long, and I don't know if I burned the crystal or the dial. Worst part of it all, that shot wasn't even good, not even usable. If I wasn't talking about it, I wouldn't even be showing it to you right now. And the other thing, and the last thing, and the most important thing is they introduced the polar dial, which is why this watch is exploding in value or was exploding in value. Rolex doesn't typically do white dials, very, very rarely. Again, the reason that they did this is to get even more visibility so you can see the time if it's getting really dark, if you're in the Arctic and the sun isn't up for a really long time, if you're in a cave. You want as much light to bounce off your dial as possible so you can see what time it is. But either way, that is how we got here to the design. Now the question is, why? The original Rolex Explorer 2 came out in 1971, and as we know, many, many things in the outdoor world came out in 1970s and 1960s because nylon was exploding in popularity. We were getting a bunch of crazy technologies like Gore-Tex, but check this out. In 1968, Bruno Dressler asked Ferdinand Petzl to build a rope ascending tool, today known as the Petzl Kroll. Pursuing these developments, Petzl started in 1970s a caving equipment manufacturer called Petzl. The development and evolution of mechanical ascension systems extended the practice and safety of vertical exploration to a wider range of cavers. Caving lights are getting better, caving safety equipment, the ropes, the tools, the ascension systems, all of that is all coming together. Rolex, obviously the Explorer 1 existed, but they're like, this is a totally new generation of explorers. This is like the second generation from the mountains now to the caves. Someone can find something crazy, and if they do, and they walk out of a cave holding something like Poseidon's trident, and they turn to the press and they're like, yeah, this is Poseidon's trident, boom, look what is front and center at the Human Achievement, a watch specifically designed for that exact purpose. While all of this is happening, Omega is just standing on the moon, like, you guys thought it was caves? They essentially have a model for every dream, every human accomplishment that you could possibly have, and their whole goal is make a watch that's fit for that scenario and get it on the winner. Has to be on the winner. And when cave diving and cave exploring was starting to explode and get more and more popular, Rolex was like, okay, let's make the watch, let's find the winner. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Reminds me, the vlog is back. The vlog channel, we are going to New York to make some clothing. We're going to Scotland, doing a bunch of cool things. So if you want to check that out, I'm actually vlogging right now. So hello vlog, but okay, see ya.